member said that livestock has got the capability and possibility of actually becoming a bigger industry, and that is true, because if you look at countries like Ethiopia, our neighbors out here, the leather industry in Ethiopia is huge. But again, Mr. Chairman, we must look at the livestock farming in its holistic form, because when we talk about the animals that are grazing, we have to go back to that farmer. And I said earlier, and I go back to it, we have got to make sure that that farmer is earning his bit. Part of the measures that we must take, especially in the pastoralist community, is education and extension farming, extension livestock experts. They must talk to our livestock grazers and our livestock keepers and the breeders themselves. Because part of the way that we can develop the leather industry is it comes back all the way to the skin that the animal is walking in. Because that is where the quality of the leather first starts. For example, if you have got barbed wire in the compound and a cow grazes along the barbed wire and tears just a little bit on its skin, that leather is already affected. It is as complicated as that. Mr. Speaker, you'll find that the leather that we are producing in terms of quality is second and third grade. So we have got to go back to the farmer and say, as you keep the cow, since you want to make money, make sure that the skin, the hides and skins are taken care of. We must go all the way to the guys who are not just feeding the cows. What feedstuffs are we giving these cows? And you'll find that when we are looking at a basic cow for export, 200 kilos is the average weight of our cows. Out there, they are looking for 350 kilograms cows. So in terms of meat, in terms of hides and skins, it's an area that we need to work on and improve. And we need to work with the pastoralist community. We must sit together and work on those ideas that are there, because there is nothing very, very new. They know it. Now, when it comes to the leather industry, the formation of the leather park in Machakos is a huge development for us. It's a big thing. And so we must make use of it. This is a time when we can get the Gushis of this world, coming here so that we can make proper leather. The affluent plant, which has already been constructed, is actually the biggest single contribution in terms of the leather industry that we want to develop. And I'll be there, and I'll make sure that the plant is complete, and also the engagement with the pastoralists as well as other livestock farmers, is complete and engaged. Mr. Chairman, I also want to talk about the policy on insurance, because I think it's crucial. We must make sure that our farmers, the pastoralists, have insurance for cattle. Because if they do not have insurance, and I have been there at one time, I remember distinctly, Mr. Chairman, going to Mandela at one time, trying to get the farmers to agree to sell their cows, because KMC was buying them, but they were not agreeing to sell. So there is also a cultural aspect that we have to deal with, and agree that it is there. And say to them that, look, when times come for drought, let's sell these cows, so that then we can create a revolving fund, so that at the time when the rains come, we can go back and restock the cattle. And I think it's also important to teach this issue of insurance, because largely there is no communication on it. Yet, there are very many organizations that are involved in this insurance for livestock. And I think we must push that agenda, and I'll be at the forefront of ensuring that it is there. But more than the insurance is also to make sure that the insurance premiums are affordable. So there is no point of saying there is livestock insurance, but the insurance is too high. People can't afford it. So we have got to go back and ask ourselves, how do we make sure that there is so much livestock, there are so many cows that are being insured, that in terms of the insurance premiums, they can come down. Because insurance works on the basis of probability. The probability that something bad is going to happen diminishes as long as the base itself is becoming, has been widened. So there's a lot to do, I agree. I cannot profess to be an expert sitting here, but I think there is the will, and I intend to work on it. Mr. Chairman, you'll allow me to also talk about the environment, because it has also been raised by Honorable Gikaria. The issue of the environment and farming. Mr. Chairman, as we said, there is an issue on this climate change that is right in front of us, and that is the issue to do with the European Union deforestation regulation, where the European Union is coming out with the rules that say that if we are deforesting to plant crops or to farm, we will not be able to export our commodities, animals, and products to the European Union. Now, this is something that we can't afford because that is our biggest market for virtually most of our agricultural products. So it is not just because they are asking us to do it. And Mr. Chairman, I like to say that in terms of what the Europeans have set as a standard of climate change or climate specifications that they want to set, in my opinion, Kenya is actually ahead of it. Because, Mr. Chairman, not only are we not cutting forests in order to plant things like coffee. For example, in the coffee sector, we are actually planting trees in the coffee farms. We are planting grevillea trees that grow in tandem with the coffee. In any event, coffee is a tree itself. So when it comes to the issue of planting, you know, being the EU DR regulations, I think we are going to meet the, I suppose the deadline is this year, but I think we are going to discuss with them and meet that, their demand. But more importantly, Mr. Chairman, is that agroforestry is also agriculture. And
his question was, the farmer used to know that you plant at the end of February, the rains will be there 1st March. Now it's not the case. How are you going to keep information flow to the farmer on the changing patterns of weather?
I'll get there, Mr. Chairman.
That's what he asked, and yeah.
I'll get there, Mr. Chairman, but I did want to raise this issue of EUDR because it is part and parcel of this thing of climate change. And Mr. Chairman, technology is going to assist us. The biggest thing in terms of the Honorable Gikaria's question is technology. We all know that these days, the meteorology department can actually predict very well. If you look at your mobile app and look at it, we can predict very well. There was a time when we talk about Rasha, Pale na Pale, you know, which was never going to happen. But I think that we are very confident. And as AI develops, the predictability and our ability to tell the weather is going to become more and more precise. And therefore, at that point, what then do we do? Because information is one thing, but what do you do when you do it? We need drought-resistant crops, drought-resistant animals that can withstand higher heat and longer and higher temperatures that currently exist. This is a scientific issue. And we are going to work with the research organizations to make sure that at least we mitigate part of what can be very severe natural disasters.
Thank you. Yes, Janet?
Chairman, I know the nominee was once a politician, but he has cleverly evaded the issue of the vaccine. And we know each other why he's doing that.
Mr. Chairman, it is indeed true that I was once a politician, but that is not, but I wasn't evading the question because the matter is very simple to me. And in consultation with those in agriculture, we have also come to the same conclusion. I think the long and short of it is the following. Number one is that my understanding is that the whole vaccination process is to address two diseases. It is to address the PPR and foot and mouth disease. That's what the issue is about. Mr. Chairman, you know, we talked about earlier about social media and what can be propaganda and otherwise. And I think the most important thing is to involve those involved in the industry, including the members of this House, is to involve those involved with the information that we have. And say, this is a vaccine. It is being made by Kevavapi, who are our own people. It is for this and this purpose. We only vaccinate about 10% of our livestock. We want to vaccinate more than that. But the point of the matter is this. The cow, as I said earlier, belongs to an individual. It doesn't belong to the government. The goat belongs to an individual, not to the government. So the matter is simple. Here is a vaccine. It is for foot and mouth disease. You have a goat. Do you want the goat to be vaccinated? You say, yes, I want to be vaccinated. We vaccinate. You say, no, I don't want my goat to be vaccinated. Sawa. Do you have a cow? Do you want the cow to be vaccinated? This is the reason why it is to be vaccinated. You say, yes, we vaccinate. You say, no, we don't vaccinate. Allah?
Thank you.
Point
Yes,
of order.
Robert.
But point of order, Honorable Chairman, point of order.
Yes, Mishi.
I think, Chairman, on the same breath, because there is a lot of misconception and a lot of negative narrative, so we wanted to hear from the nominee, how is he going to address to the public and put some trust to the public regarding the vaccination? We wanted to hear on that perspective.
Thank you, Honorable Mishi. The communication aspect of it is huge. The communication aspect of this is very big. And I'm going to use the experts. I'm going to use the experts in Kevavapi. I'm going to use the experts who understand this very well to be actually the lead communicators, just like we did with COVID, where we had the doctors themselves explain the issue. We also want to use the veterinary officers to themselves explain what we are trying to do. So you can be sure, Honorable Member, that I am going to put a very robust communication system on this matter.
Robert Mbui,
Yeah, thank
Baya, Murugara.
you. Speaker, maybe before we leave that issue of vaccines,
Yes.
because I remember CS Mutahi telling us, if I can get it, you can get it on COVID. And largely, the issue of vaccines, the problem has been misinformation and the people communicating. Because the ministry has left it to the political class to communicate, and probably, should he be approved, is the area around that communication that he will need to look into, so that the